Why your job will never make you rich. Michael is 40 years old. He has worked for the same company since college. He started as an entry-level analyst, making $38,000 today after nearly 2 decades of promotions, long nights, and constant loyalty. He earns $95,000 on paper. It looks like success. His LinkedIn profile glows. His family says he made it. He drives a decent car, lives in a suburban home, and has a respectable title, senior manager. But behind the curtain, Michael feels trapped. His checking account rarely holds more than a few $1,000s. His credit cards carry balances. His mortgage and car payments consume much of his paycheck, and his retirement account is smaller than he expected. After so many years of work, Michael asks himself a painful question. How can I have worked so hard for so long and still feel broke? This is the hidden truth of jobs. They provide survival, not wealth society teaches us from the first day of school. Get good grades so you can get into a good college, get a degree so you can get a good job, and once you land that job, stay loyal, work hard, climb the ladder, collect raises, and someday you will be rich. But this is the illusion. A job can keep you alive, but it will never set you free, because a job trades your most precious resource, time, for money, and time is finite. Think about it. Your employer pays you for 40 or 50 hours a week. No matter how talented you are, you cannot add more hours to the day. Once you sell your hours, your income ceiling is set. Promotions can raise it a little over time, can stretch it a bit, but the model never changes. You give hours, you get dollars. When you stop giving hours, you stop getting dollars. This is why even high earners often feel poor. Surgeons, lawyers, executives may make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year. But if all of it disappears the moment they stop working, they are not rich. They are just highly paid. Employees chained to their schedules. The wealthy understand this, which is why they build assets that pay them, whether they work or not. They buy real estate that collects rent while they sleep. They own businesses that generate income without their daily presence. They invest in stocks and funds that grow through compounding. They build systems where money creates more money instead of labor, creating all the money. This is the key difference between jobs and wealth. Jobs also carry built-in enemies: taxes, inflation, and lifestyle creep. When Michael's salary rose from $38,000 to $95,000, his effective tax rate nearly doubled. The government captured more of every new dollar, and after deductions, he took home far less than expected. Then inflation silently eroded his raises each year. Groceries, healthcare, property taxes, and tuition rose faster than his salary increases. Finally, lifestyle creep absorbed the rest. Every promotion brought a new car, nicer vacations, or a bigger home. His salary grew, but his obligations grew faster, leaving him standing still. This is why people can work 20 or 30 years and still retire with almost nothing, because jobs are not designed to build wealth. They are designed to keep you dependent. The paycheck covers the bills, but never multiplies into freedom unless you deliberately redirect it. The illusion of a job is safety. You know when the paycheck arrives, you know the amount, you can plan bills and feel secure. But the truth is that safety is fragile. The paycheck stops the moment you are laid off, injured, or retired during the pandemic. Millions discovered this overnight. People with long careers and steady jobs saw their income vanish in weeks, no matter how skilled or loyal they were. Jobs do not create ownership. They create dependency. Now consider the math. John earns $80,000 a year after taxes and deductions. He takes home about $55,000, that is $4,600. Per month, his rent is $1,800. His car payment and insurance, $600. His student loan, $400. Groceries, $600. Utilities, $200. Health insurance premiums, $300. And suddenly there is almost nothing left for savings or investing. Even though he earns more than 60% of households in America, he feels broke because his entire salary is consumed by survival costs. This is the trap of trading time for money. It looks like enough until you run the numbers. Raises do not save you either. Suppose John receives a 10% raise. Now he earns $88,000. But after higher taxes, he brings home about $60,000. An increase of just $400 a month rent rises 100 groceries. Another 100 health premiums, 50 new subscriptions and lifestyle upgrades take the rest. The raise evaporates before it can build wealth. This treadmill is why salaries never feel like enough. They are absorbed by taxes, inflation, and lifestyle creep before you can use them to escape. Jobs also cap your upside, no matter how brilliant or hardworking you are. Your salary is decided by someone else. Your boss, your company, your industry ceiling surgeons can earn $400,000 a year. But that ceiling requires grueling work and decades of training. Meanwhile, entrepreneurs and investors can earn that in months or even weeks because their income is not tied to hours. It is tied to assets and ownership. This is why people working 60-hour weeks can feel poor, while others working fewer hours build fortunes. Another painful truth is that jobs steal your best years, your 20s, 30s, and 40s. The decades when you have energy and ideas are often spent inside offices or on commutes. Trading time for money. You tell yourself it is safe and respectable, but at 50 or 60, you realize you never built systems that work without you. You spent your prime years maintaining survival, not building freedom. Michael learned this the hard way when he turned 40 after nearly 2 decades at his company. His net worth outside of home equity was less than $100,000. His entire wealth was tied to his job. If he lost it, he would lose everything. His raises had created comfort, not freedom. His title created pride, not independence. This is why the wealthy hate. Depending on jobs, they may work jobs for a while, but only as a launch pad for assets. They know the paycheck is temporary, the assets are permanent. Another reason jobs never create wealth is that they trap you in linear growth. Jobs pay you linearly 1 hour, $1, 2 hours, $2, work more, get more. But wealth grows exponentially, compounding, turns $1 into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8. Over time, assets snowball. But salaries never snowball. They only crawl forward by 3 or 5% per year, sometimes less when inflation is 7% and your raise is 3%. You are actually going backwards slowly but surely. Think of Emma. She started as a teacher making $42,000 after 12 years of experience and a master's degree. She now earns $62,000, a 47% increase. Sounds good, until you realize inflation in that time has been over 35% and her health premiums doubled. Her real raise is almost nothing. Despite a decade of work and higher qualifications, her net worth is barely different from when she began. This is the hamster wheel teachers, nurses, engineers, managers, all running harder but standing still. Contrast that with Daniel, who started with the same $42,000 salary but invested 10% of his income each year into index funds instead of lifestyle creep. He kept driving his old car and living in a modest apartment after 12 years. His $62,000 salary was the same as Emma's, but his investments had compounded to nearly $150,000. His job paid the bills, but his assets built wealth. That is the difference. A job can cover expenses, but only assets. Create freedom. Jobs also fail because they consume mental energy when you spend 8 to 10 hours a day following orders, answering emails, sitting in meetings. You have little left. For creativity or entrepreneurship, the job drains your energy, so you cannot build something for yourself. You spend your best years making someone else rich while your own dreams sit on the shelf. Michael often thought about starting a consulting business, but after 10 hours at the office and an hour commuting, he was too exhausted to try. This is how jobs steal, not just money but potential. The wealthy flip this script. They may start in jobs, but they use them as training grounds, not prisons. They learn skills, networks, and discipline. Then they deploy those lessons into ownership. They understand the goal is not to climb the corporate ladder forever, but to build a ladder of their own. Another trap is retirement dependency. Many employees believe if they work hard for 40 years, their pensions or 401k will provide security. But pensions are disappearing and 401k accounts depend on what you contribute. Most workers contribute little or nothing because they are living paycheck to paycheck. So when retirement comes, they discover they have survival money, not freedom money. This is why 60-year-olds with six-figure salaries still cannot stop working. They never built assets outside of the job at its core. The problem is simple. Jobs are designed for stability, not wealth. They pay you enough to survive, but not enough to escape. And when you depend solely on that model, you guarantee that your life is measured by hours, not by ownership. The myth of the job is deeply rooted in culture. Parents tell children study hard so you can get a good job. Teachers reward obedience, not creativity. Society praises job titles more than ownership, but this myth hides the truth. Companies are built to extract more value from employees than they pay if you earn $95,000 for your role. It is because your company makes $200,000 or $300,000 in value from your work. The gap is profit for them and survival for you. The system cannot make employees rich because employees are the resource that fuels someone else's wealth. Consider healthcare workers. Many nurses earn $70,000 to $90,000 a year, but they work 12-hour shifts, nights, weekends, and holidays. After taxes and costs, they bring home enough to survive, but not enough to save aggressively. Meanwhile, the hospitals they work for generate millions each year from their labor. The owners and shareholders become wealthy while the employees trade. Life energy for wages. This imbalance is not accidental. It is the design of the system. Another truth is that jobs punish independence. If you stop working, income stops. If you question too much, you risk promotion. If you want freedom of schedule, you are penalized. Jobs demand conformity, but wealth requires independence. You cannot become rich while following orders forever, because wealth comes from building something that works for you, not just working for others. Jobs also fail because they create comfort illusions. Michael felt safe with his steady paycheck, but when layoffs hit his industry, he realized he had no control. One decision from corporate leaders could erase 20 years of loyalty. This fragility is what the wealthy avoid. They never want their income controlled by one boss. They diversify income streams so no single person can decide their fate. The stress test is simple. Ask yourself if your paycheck stopped tomorrow. How long could you survive? Most employees answer weeks, maybe months. Wealthy people answer years or decades because their income comes from assets, not employers. This single difference explains why jobs cannot create wealth. They are temporary lifelines, not permanent engines. Take the story of Linda. She earned $110,000 as a corporate attorney. She was praised, envied, respected. But when she left her job to raise her child, her income dropped to zero. Instantly, she realized she was never rich. She was only temporarily paid well. Rich means your money keeps coming even when you stop working. A job can never provide that by itself. This is why wealthy families use jobs as stepping stones, not cages. They accept salaries in the short term, but they channel extra income into investments. They know the paycheck is a tool, not a goal. Another way to see the weakness of jobs is through opportunity cost. Every hour spent working for someone else is an hour not spent building for yourself. When Michael worked 60 hours a week at his company, he told himself he was being productive. But in reality, he was only productive for his employer. His own wealth building was on pause for decades. He exchanged the best years of his life for paychecks that disappeared into expenses. If instead, he had devoted even 10 of those hours a week to building assets, he would already have financial independence by now. Opportunity cost shows up in money too. Imagine two people both earning $80,000. One saves and invests 10% consistently. While the other spends everything after 20 years, the investor has over $500,000 in assets while the spender has nothing, same job, same salary, same hours, but completely different outcomes. The job itself never made either of them rich. It was the decision about what to do with the income that mattered. This is why wealthy people do not measure success by salary. They measure it by ownership, assets, income streams, net worth. The middle class asks, "What is your job title?" The wealthy ask, "What assets do you own?" The poor and middle class focus on earning more. The wealthy focus on owning more. Another critical point is scalability. Jobs cannot scale your income. Is tied to your hours and limited by human capacity. But assets can. Scale infinitely. A rental property can house 2 tenants or 20. A business can serve 1 customer or 1 million. An index fund compounds without limit. Salaries grow linearly. Assets grow exponentially. This is why people with average salaries, but strong investments can retire early while 6-figure earners with no assets work until 70. Jobs also fail because they do not teach leverage. Wealthy people use other people's time, money, and knowledge to multiply their own results. Employees use only their own time. Jobs reward effort, but not leverage. You can work twice as hard, but you will not earn twice as much because the company caps your value. But when you own assets, leverage does the work for you. Think about Carlos, who earned $70,000 as an engineer. He bought a duplex and rented half within a year. His rental income covered his mortgage within 5 years. He owned 3 properties, generating $36,000 a year in cash flow. His salary was the same, but his wealth was multiplying because his assets scaled. His job kept him alive. His assets set him free. This is the quiet truth. Every job has a ceiling. Assets have no ceiling, and that is why no job will ever make you rich. At the end of the day, a job can give you stability, but it cannot give you freedom. It can cover your bills, but it cannot multiply into wealth. It can provide comfort, but it cannot buy independence. That is because jobs are designed to extract your time in exchange for wages, and time is the one thing you can never expand. The wealthy understand this, and that is why they never rely on salaries alone. They use jobs as stepping stones, not destinations. True wealth begins when you stop asking, "How can I earn more salary?" and start asking, "How can I make my money earn?" For me, raises and promotions feel good, but they do not change the rules. The taxes rise, the lifestyle creeps, inflation eats, and you are left standing in the same place. The only way out is ownership of assets that continue to pay even when you do not work. Ownership of systems that generate income around the clock. Ownership of your time so no boss or company can control your survival. Think again about Michael, who gave 20 years to his company and still felt broke. His story is repeated millions of times across America. Hardworking, loyal people hoping their jobs will make them rich. But the truth is, jobs make companies rich, not employees. Compare him with Alex, who used his job as a launch pad. Each raise went into index funds, each bonus into real estate, each spare hour into building a side business within 15 years. Alex had multiple income streams and could choose to keep working or walk away. His wealth was not his salary. It was his ownership. The middle class measures success in titles. The wealthy measure success in freedom. The middle class works for money. The wealthy make money work for them. The middle class fears losing jobs. The wealthy build lives where jobs are optional. That is the mindset shift you must make if you want to break free from the paycheck cycle. So remember, your job will never make you rich. It was never designed to your salary. Is survival. Your assets are freedom. Your boss pays you enough to keep you working, but never enough to let you stop. Only you can build the systems that make money without your hours. Only you can choose to use your job as a tool instead of a trap. The path is clear. Earn, invest, own, repeat, because jobs may keep you alive, but ownership is what lets you live free.